Well, hello everyone, and welcome to our post AEP action plan webinar. My name is Chris Hagerstrom, Executive Director of Communication and Trading here at JSA, and that's my picture on the screen. Thanks you all for joining us here today. I've got probably a good hour of content and ideas and best practices and cool stuff to share with you. So we'll make sure that we get through this as much as possible. But if you have any questions as we go through the presentation, please use the chat function. You can send it to me. I show up as the panelist and host on that chat box if you want to send it to me privately. Otherwise, you can share it with everybody and say, hello, how are you doing? That's fine. But let's go ahead and dig in. So the post AEP action plan, if you guys remember, leading up to the annual enrollment period and then during the annual enrollment period, we had our AEP action plan resources page. And the page was designed to give you guys some best practices, some tools, and some resources to help you navigate this year's AEP, because we knew it was going to be nuts. With the passing of the Inflation Reduction Act, and then starting to see those changes happening in a big way to the prescription drug program and a couple of other things that we'll talk about today, we knew the AEP was going to be crazy. And we put together as many resources as possible. We had some cool videos, some new flyers, some new presentations and things for you guys to use. And we call that the AEP action plan. We had to give it a cool name, and that's what we came up with. And we were thinking about, okay, well, what's going to happen after this year's AEP? Because, you know, a lot of the changes and a lot of the things that we learned during AEP, we don't necessarily have an opportunity to kind of get the word out within days after the close of business on December 7th to really talk about AEP, what happened during the year, what happened, you know, what led up to the annual enrollment period being so chaotic this year, and then, you know, what we can do to really focus on starting off the next year strong. So we came up with the idea of doing this webinar, the post AEP action plan. And I will tell you, I've been working on this presentation for a while, and I literally just got done creating this presentation this morning because we've been collecting information and collecting feedback and looking at best practices and looking up some industry news and things like that we want to share with you. So a lot of the information that we're going to share during today's presentation is brand new stuff, brand new things that we've learned, things that we're going to share. Then we've got that really exciting announcement that we'll talk about as we get towards the end of the presentation. So I'm really excited. I'm glad everyone's here. So let's go ahead and talk about what happened during this year's annual enrollment period. So with the AEP for this year, I kind of alluded to it already, but we had some headwinds. So let's talk about what happened this AEP, give it a wrap up, let you guys know how everybody did from a JSA standpoint. So what were the headwinds? Well, this really was an unprecedented year. When it came to the changes and the updates that were happening in the Medicare market itself, we've never really seen this level of changes before. Regarding the impacts, just simply because of the Inflation Reduction Act, that is the single biggest change to the Medicare market since Medicare Part D was introduced in 2006, that we actually sold in AEP of 2005. So this was truly unprecedented. We had all kinds of things that were impacting the marketplace, and we really didn't have a clear picture of what that marketplace was even going to look like until just maybe a week before October 1st, because we had carriers that were doing rollouts late, benefits weren't being shared. We had some disruptions during the annual enrollment period. It was nuts. It was crazy. But when we look at what caused this past annual enrollment period to be kind of this crazy madness, was a lot of headwinds that were being impacted from specifically the carrier standpoint, how these impact the carriers, and then of course that impacts benefits. We had medical utilization up. Medical utilization's actually been up for the past 16 to 18 months on the Medicare side. So not just Medicare Advantage, but also Original Medicare is seeing the medical utilization up. And it was kind of expected in a post-COVID world. As the COVID pandemic was winding down and things were coming back to normal, a lot of the things that people were dealing with, chronic conditions, things like that they were putting off during that time, they started going back to the doctor and utilizing the services and getting those tests and scheduling those surgeries. So we've seen medical utilization go up across the board in the Medicare market. It's not specific to one carrier or one product. But then specifically with Medicare Advantage, if you look at the reimbursements that they're getting from CMS, which is the per member per month benefit that they get when somebody enrolls, those reimbursements were actually down. So if you look at the news and all the press releases and stuff from last year, they were projected to get like a 2.4% increase in those reimbursements. But when you factor in medical utilization and the increases they saw there, it was actually a decline of about 3 to 4%, depending on the county. So utilization up, reimbursements were down. So carriers were having to deal with that. Then you toss in all of these changes that's happening with the Inflation Reduction Act as far as shifting the majority of the cost away from manufacturers onto the carriers and lowering the out-of-pocket maximum to $2,000. How were carriers going to deal with that? What was going to be the process to make sure that carriers were going to be able to provide a good package of benefits, but also to be able to afford these new costs, this drastic increase in costs on the back end for carriers to fund these big changes to the Medicare prescription drug program? And then on top of all of that, you toss in some election distraction that we had at the beginning of November, which happens every 4 years. We go through an election distraction. But this year was different, and we'll talk about that. Where we usually see kind of a slow start to AEP because of an election and then kind of a boom after that, it was drastically different. I got some cool numbers to share with you guys. So lots of headwinds going into this AEP, but that's just the things that were happening with the carriers. What actually happened in the market as a result of these headwinds was very interesting. So we have this year a lot of service area reductions. And this had a national impact. There are about 643 Medicare Advantage plans that are actually canceling or terminating their contract at the end of 2024. All 50 states were impacted by some kind of a service area reduction. And there was, and I found a cool spreadsheet, there was 11,926 individual contracts in counties that are canceled across the country. That's huge. That's probably one of the largest service, I think it is the largest service area reduction we've ever seen in the Medicare market ever since these plans really took off after the release of Part D in 2006. So we have a lot of plans that are just leaving the areas, vacating markets. Some carriers are getting out of the game altogether on the Medicare Advantage side. We're seeing that on the prescription drug plan side too. 110 Part D plans from across the country are canceling. Once again, impacting all 50 states. One of the big names to note is Mutual of Omaha. Mutual of Omaha, if you guys were doing business in 23 into 24, Mutual of Omaha actually ended up being a pretty good carrier for clients that were taking a lot of high-cost specialty medications. So we did a lot of business with Mutual of Omaha and their standalone prescription drug plan. But they're done. As at the end of 2024, all those individual standalone Part D clients are going to have to find new coverage, and hopefully they did during this annual enrollment period. So that was one of the big things that was happening. Another thing that happened because of all of this headwinds as far as the funding for the Medicare Advantage plans is it directly impacts contracts with the Medicare Advantage providers. So there was a ton of provider battles this annual enrollment period. And for a majority of the annual enrollment period, I know here locally in Green Bay, Wisconsin, one of our big hospitals was battling with one of the largest in carriers. And they battled all the way up until I think like the 5th of December. So that contract battle was in limbo during the annual enrollment period. And I know this happened in a lot of other areas. And what happened because of that is some carriers saw growth early in the annual enrollment period because there wasn't any hospital situations. They had those networks in place. And we saw a lot of movement from the carrier that was having those talks with those contracts and those provider relationships. We saw a lot of that business move earlier in the year over to other carriers. So we saw some carriers have some pretty early growth in the AEP due to that. But what's going to happen with some of those battles that are still out there? We still have some agreements across the country that haven't been reached yet. And the question comes, well, are clients going to change back during the open enrollment period? If they changed at the beginning or during the annual enrollment period to go to a different plan, we don't know. It all depends on whether or not they really like that coverage. If they didn't want to leave the coverage, but they're definitely not leaving their doctor, so they had to pick another plan, are we going to see a little bit of a bounce back during OEP? I assume we might. In those markets that are having those issues. I'm sure it's going to happen here in Green Bay now that the agreement and everything's been reached. So yeah, a lot of provider shakeups this year. It seemed to be a topic in the news too. If you watch any kind of national news, a lot, or industry news, if you get any updates like I do, it seemed like provider relationships was a weekly occurrence where we're dealing with some kind of carrier or some kind of network or some kind of provider battle going on. So that didn't help this AEP either. And then this, my goodness, non-commissionable plans. I will tell you, for ever since 2007, as long as I can remember, there have been plans that are non-commissionable. So there's just plans that carriers have available, but they don't pay commission, so you're not going to be able to sell them. So that's not uncommon. That's been happening for quite some time. But this year was weird. This year was the first time we've ever seen carriers come out and during the annual enrollment period say, hey, we're making these plans non-commissionable. Instead of like years past where they would tell us in like July or August or even September for that matter, hey, here's a list of plans that are non-commissionable. Some of these carriers didn't give us any lists, like Aetna and Anthem didn't give us this notice until maybe 2 or 3 days prior to November 1st. So a lot of disruption when it came to those non-commissionable programs. And it seemed like the most popular PPOs from those carriers were the ones that were drastically impacted for those non-commissionable Medicare Advantage plans. We all know what happened with WellCare and the Part D and the commission changes they did there, but at least they told us prior to the annual enrollment period so we could plan for this. I know we ran into situations where we had earmarked a certain amount of carrier, a certain amount of our clients were going to move to this plan, a certain amount of our clients were going to move to this plan, and then wham, October 28th, they come out and say, hey, as of November 1st, we're not paying commissions, and that completely caused some chaos in a lot of the markets across the country because of those changes to go non-commissionable. Another weird thing that we saw this year were not necessarily non-commissionable plans, but were suppressed plans. So they actually had plans that are available for sale, they're commissionable, but the carrier decided to suppress those plans where they weren't showing up on any of the multi-carrier quoting and enrollment tools. You couldn't go on their website and enroll directly. And some carriers even wouldn't allow agents to order the physical enrollment kits for some of those suppressed plans. So that was a goofy thing too. Like we had plans that were popular, great benefit package, had good drug coverage, had great networks. It was going to be a good option for us. But then the carrier's like, we really don't want you to sell those. We're not going to make them non-commissionable, but we're just going to make it very difficult to enroll clients into that. That was another bizarre happening that happened this year too. That's kind of unprecedented. This whole AEP was unprecedented. So let's keep going on. Then we saw reduced ancillary benefits. A lot of people on this call will understand what I talk about when I say there's no more free golf clubs, people. And this is a direct result of the issues that the carriers are facing. As medical utilization goes up and the cost of the prescription drug benefit goes up because carriers now have to provide more financial coverage, ancillary benefits are going to be the things that you're going to see cuts. Carriers are going to try and keep their core medical benefits as far as premium, PCP and specialist co-payments, inpatient hospitalization, out-of-pocket maximums. They're going to try and keep those core benefits as stable as possible year over year. But where we're going to see cuts like we did this year, and we're probably going to see it next year too, is we're going to see impacts to ancillary benefits like dental, the reimbursement perks, like that fitness reimbursement from one of the carriers across the country. That was a huge sales driver in 2024. Huge reduction in those come 2025. We saw reductions in the over-the-counter and the debit card benefits as well. So big impacts to ancillary benefits. And what's going to happen is in 2025, this was something that happened with the final rule, is carriers are required to send out what's called a mid-year supplemental benefit notice. So in July of this year, all your Medicare Advantage clients are going to get a notice directly from their insurance carrier that says, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, you've got a $2,000 dental benefit. You haven't used any of those benefits. Make sure you make sure you're aware and utilize those benefits before the end of the year. So as we see those notifications go up and the actual utilization of ancillary benefits go up, that's also going to impact what's available from an ancillary benefit standpoint come plan year 2026. So when we're in a planning for AEP and then starting to look at 26, we're going to see some of the impacts to that mid-year notice as well. And we're going to continue to see those ancillary benefits reduced, which was a huge driver in sales for 24. I think that's the spotlight on those ancillary benefits is slowly peeling back. As carriers see these medical utilizations go up, they're going to see the ancillary benefit utilization go up. It's going to cause some headaches. And then, of course, we have the IRA changes and challenges. This year, everyone needed to shop. So if you look at the most recent enrollment numbers, 77% of all Medicare beneficiaries across the country have prescription drug coverage. And with the changes from the Inflation Reduction Act, everyone needed to shop. You needed to shop to make sure your premium wasn't drastically changes. You needed to shop to make sure that if your plan was even still available. Some people got impacted by plans from the service area reductions. But what we found out is the biggest thing that mattered this year from a shopping standpoint and a quoting standpoint is formularies matter. I don't think anybody was really kind of looking at that at the beginning of AEP. We talked a lot about, well, are the cost of drugs going to go through the roof? How does this $2,000 even calculate it? And that's a whole another presentation in and of itself. But a lot of people were worried about the cost. What is the cost? What is the cost? What's the premium? What's the cost? Well, when it came down to October 1st, so we could start quoting these programs, it became apparent very fast that formularies mattered the most. We saw a lot of clients, and we had to change a lot of clients from one carrier to another just because the medicine that they were taking was no longer covered by their plan. Um, Buckle it into the fact that there was fewer standalone prescription drug options for Part D as far as market exits, the plan consolidations, the whole non-commissionable Part D debacle that we had to deal with. It was difficult. It was difficult to navigate this year. It was dealt with a lot of agents across the country, and depending on the mix of medications, it became a finding a needle in a haystack moment. And unfortunately, I wish we could say that this is the only AEP where that's going to matter. That's not going to be the case. What's going to happen is this is the first year that carriers get to experience what this new plan benefit design around Part D actually means from a funding standpoint. So as we get into 2025 and make our way through 2025, carriers are going to learn better whether or not they price their plans accordingly, price their drugs accordingly, chose the right mix of medications to have on their formulary. And we're going to see big adjustments to that as we go from 25 to 26, as they try and continue to learn how they're going to fund this new prescription drug plan benefit. So I wish I could say that this is probably the last AEP we got to worry about something like that. It's unfortunately no. As carriers navigate the new Part D benefits and continue to offer plans in this space, this is going to impact the AEP for years to come. So again, this year's AEP and all the things that we just went through, truly unprecedented, truly an unprecedented AEP. All of these headwinds, all of these changes, everything all at once. It was crazy. But through all of the challenges, through everything that happened in the marketplace, to the changes, the non-commissionable, the suppressed plans, you name it, there were still huge opportunities for wins. And that's really what we want to focus on, is what were the opportunities? Where did we see wins in the marketplace for our agents across the country? And we're going to share them with you. Retain. The huge focus on retention was a win for this year's annual enrollment period. We had been advising agents since the beginning of July, hey, carriers aren't releasing benefits. We don't know what plans are going to look like. We certainly won't be able to quote anything till October. So we need to make sure that come October 1st, you have everything that you need in your back pocket so you can handle any situations your clients may bring to you. So we saw a huge focus and a huge surge of contracting in July and August and September, and even towards the beginning in October, of agents that were adding additional carriers to fill the gaps. So you may have had, the 4 out of the 5 Medicare Advantage carriers in your market. You may have had those contracts already. We saw a lot of agents going out and grabbing that 5th or grabbing that 6th one, just to make sure, hey, when I'm quoting people, I don't want to have to try and add a carrier during AEP. So congratulations to everybody who took our advice, heeded that. You guys did awesome. That was a big win for everybody, because we know that adding those additional carriers prior to the AEP, that saved a lot of business. We had a lot of agents this year, which was odd, because we're usually, sending out emails. Notice how you guys didn't get a ton of certification emails from us this year. We had a lot of agents who completed their AHIP and their NABIP certifications, their carrier certifications early. So that usually gets released end of June into July. We saw a lot of agents just jump on board to get that done right away. So kudos to you guys. Don't worry if you're sitting there and you're like, darn it, I was one of the people that waited till September. At least you got it done. But we saw way more agents complete their certifications early this year than years before, in anticipation of all these changes. We saw a lot of activity at the carrier rollouts. I attended a couple carrier rollouts myself here in our local markets, and it was nice to see a lot of our agents in the seats getting the information for 2025, getting their questions answered. And then I challenged everybody to ask the question, what does your formulary look like? I am pleased to announce that that question came up at every single rollout that I attended, and I appreciate it, because that was one of the big things that was a big driver in moving our business this year, was those formularies. Starting October 1st, all the way through the beginning of the 15th, we saw a huge quoting blitz. On our multi-carrier platforms, we saw a lot of people sending out the retire flow surveys, which we'll talk about. If you guys took advantage of that, kudos to you. If you did not, it's an amazing tool, and I'm going to try and convince you to add it. And we saw a lot of our multi-carrier tools. So we have both My Health Plan, which is the Connector platform, and we have Sunfire as well. We saw early utilization of those. I think we ran the most quotes we ever have as a company in history from the 10th to the 15th this year compared to other years. So retention was a huge focus. You guys did a great job retaining your book of business. You did a great job October 1st hitting the ground running, talking to your clients, going over their benefits, going over their list of drugs, taking a look at what's going to be available in 2025. You guys crushed it. So retention, huge win for us this year. And we'll talk a little bit about what that actually means from a number standpoint. Another thing is anytime we have big change in the industry, there's a huge opportunity for growth. This has happened throughout the history of Medicare. When Part D came out, that was a big change in the industry, huge opportunity for growth. When MIPA was passed in 2008 and created the scope of appointment form, that even though a lot of people were like, this might be the most pointless piece of paper ever, that created a huge opportunity for growth. As we saw the elimination of private fee-for-service plans and replacement for HMOs and PPOs, that was a huge opportunity for growth. So anytime the industry has a change, we have a huge opportunity for growth. And we saw that this year. And some of the big wins for agents that were looking to grow their business this year as any kind of an AEP awareness campaign really took off. And when you combine that with the enhanced marketing restrictions on the big national call centers and things like that, like, did you guys notice, even if you had an opportunity to sit down and watch TV this AEP, did you notice the lack of Medicare commercials that there seemed to be? Just because there was a big crackdown on those, but there was less outreach to Medicare beneficiaries during the annual enrollment period. I think I saw Medicare's own commercial more times than anything else. But because of that lack of trying to reach out to Medicare beneficiaries, it gave an opportunity for independent agents like yourself to create awareness around the AEP, whether you did that locally within your center of influence, whether you posted on your Facebook pages or did advertisements or things like that. The AEP awareness campaigns were highly successful this year, and I think they're going to continue to be successful in AEPs to come as the marketing restrictions for those big nasty call centers continue to kind of cripple that business model. These people need help. 70% of all Medicare beneficiaries needed a quote this year, and I don't think we were able to reach all of them. We did a darn good job reaching a majority of them, but AEP awareness campaigns were a huge win. The IRA action plan videos, we made videos available, professionally filmed. We had actors, we had scripts, we had our AEP Hourglass. That was really cool. Those plan videos took off. We had a lot of downloads, saw a lot of people using those to create awareness for those. That was another big win this year in getting the message out. And then educational events. We had more agents file events this year during the beginning of the annual enrollment period from October 1st to October 15th than ever before. We made our Medicare Scholar presentation, which is our educational presentation on the changes for 2025 Part D available. I think at the beginning of July, we had that done. And we saw a lot of agents modifying it, downloading it, and getting out there with educational events. Once again, another great way to get in front of people you wouldn't normally be getting in front of during the early parts of the annual enrollment period, and being able to turn them in from prospects into clients. So that was another big win. And then this is something I'm going to continue to harp on agents to do. We talked about this during the AEP action plan. Get in touch with your local pharmacy. Let them know what's going on. We have resources available on the AEP action plan website that you can go to for a pharmacy letter, intro letter, and things like that. It's also on ProShop Plus. Reach out to those pharmacies. I can't tell you the amount of conversations that we've had with agents who have reached out to their pharmacy and educated them. Hey, do you understand these changes to benefits for Medicare? Do you understand that most people didn't have an opportunity to shop their coverage this year? You're probably going to have people standing here in January when you go and run their insurance card. They're going to find that one or two or more of their medications are no longer covered. That simple act of educating a pharmacist on what's happening with the changes from the Inflation Reduction Act is going to lead to a huge amount of success for you. All the agents who have done this have these new referral sources in their community, which are pharmacists that their Medicare customers trust 100%. This is a huge opportunity. I had the privilege of teaching an entire healthcare system in Southern California about the changes to the Inflation Reduction Act. And I talked to their entire pharmacy team. It was like 80 some people. And they had no idea. And this was beginning of October. I want to say October 8th. They had no idea any of these changes to Medicare were coming. It's just there's still an untapped opportunity out there to reach out to pharmacy partnerships, especially as we get into, the change from December 31st to January 1st when you've got to start using your due benefits. I think there's going to be a lot of individuals that are going to be upset with their prescription drug coverage when they go and fill those prescriptions for the first time next year. And if the pharmacy doesn't have a resource to reach out to someone locally, or even a phone number to call or a business card to pass out, I think that's going to be a huge problem for their customers. So grab our pharmacy stuff, get it through the Pro Shop, get it through aepactionplan.com, reach out to your local pharmacists, go visit with them, tell them, hey, big changes coming up. We want to make sure everybody has the best coverage possible. Please, 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 anybody who runs into problems, have them reach out to us. That'll be one of the quickest, easiest ways to cement yourself as a Medicare resource in your community, but also take advantage of some of this turmoil coming up. So huge opportunity. So what did AEP look like? Well, congratulations to all the folks on the call today. 39% of our business was written before the election. Usually, like I said, usually in years past, if we could chart this, during election years, so back in 2020, we may have gotten like 15 to 18% of our business prior to the election. And then the remaining 80 to 85% after the election. This year, 39% of the business, which is our new to carrier business, that's the number we'll really track, that was written before the election. So thanks, Inflation Reduction Act. That once again goes to show that the focus on retention this year was a huge win. We had almost half of the business that was written during the annual enrollment period was written before the election because you guys were on it come October 1st. You were quoting, you were enrolling, you were getting people in the right plan. So thank you once again. We ended up at the end of this year about 23% year over year growth in new to carrier sales. That's not plan changes, but that's just new to carrier sales. That's 23% growth, and last year was a banger year as well. So thank you everybody on this phone call for doing the right thing for your clients, for taking advantage of these opportunities. It was a huge AEP, and I know it was crazy, it was busy, but well worth it. So congratulations. So that kind of wraps up the annual enrollment period. I want to spend the next 30 minutes talking about what do we do now? So when it comes to looking past this year's annual enrollment period, knowing the craziness that we just dealt with, where are going to be the opportunities and what are the things that we need to know to make sure that we have a successful OEP and a SEP so that we can get ready to do this AEP thing all over again the following year. So let's talk about some of the updates for OEP because we do have some kind of procedural changes, some new rules and things we have to follow. And then, of course, we'll talk about opportunities. Remember what I said, anytime that there's a change in the Medicare business, there's an opportunity for growth that continues as we get into the OEP as well. So first and foremost, just to make sure that everyone's on the same page, let's kind of level set here what the OEP means. The OEP means we can't promote the open enrollment period. It's the only business in this world where there's an opportunity to actually make a change to your plan benefits where no one can tell you that there's an opportunity to change your plan benefits. So we as independent agents, we can't openly promote the open enrollment period to Medicare beneficiaries with the idea that we're telling them, hey, you still have the open enrollment period, we can make a change. Or, hey, do you have a Medicare Advantage plan? You have until March 31st to make a change. We can't do that. It's really bizarre, but there is a restriction on marketing. We can, however, just simply educate that the open enrollment period exists to create awareness, but we can't do like a call to action. So I've seen a couple people, just scrolling through Facebook and LinkedIn, I've seen a couple people already that are some of the agencies that I'm friends with. They're posting, hey, the open enrollment period is coming January 1st through March 31st. And then there's a click to or their website where you can look at what you can and cannot do. There's no call to action on there. So there's no like, hey, reach out to us so we can help you with your plan change. It's just the open enrollment period exists and here's what you could do. You could definitely do that to create some awareness. That's cool. But even if you could market for the open enrollment period, where are you even going to get a list of Medicare Advantage beneficiaries to promote to? So it's kind of a conundrum. It's like, well, we can't talk about it, but even if we could talk about it, where could we get this message out and get the call to action? Like, hey, I'm your local Medicare person. It's the open enrollment period. Let's do something. Well, how are you going to do that? There's a lot of different things that you could do during OEP to build awareness, and there's a lot of different, it's kind of fun. An OEP is an opportunity for you to continue to grow your business for Medicare, but it gives you an opportunity to kind of explore some new stuff. And what are some of the things that you could do? Well, first and foremost, build your referral network. Look for referral opportunities from those that serve Medicare Advantage clients. Their pharmacies are number one for a reason, because I truly believe that there's still a huge opportunity for everybody on this call to make that connection with the pharmacist across the country so that you could become their resource when their customers have a disappointing experience at that pharmacy counter the first time they see them come 2025. So pharmacy is a great opportunity. Dentists, huge opportunity for dentists. We saw a lot of cuts in dental benefits this year. Clients may be surprised when they go in and they're expecting to have this certain level of benefits from their Medicare plan, and all of a sudden it's not working out for them for their procedures for this year. So having your dentist in your back pocket as a referral source is great. Fitness facilities, you name it. There's any place that caters to the Medicare Advantage population is a good place to get a referral source. But I try and think of, when you're thinking of opportunities, think of the benefits of the Medicare Advantage plans in your portfolio and where you can actually utilize those benefits, and let that be your guide. The cool thing about this is your referral source, they're not contracted agents. They're not you and I. They don't have a license. They're not contracted. They're not required to carry E&O for this kind of stuff. They don't have to do certification. They can talk about, so when people come in and hopefully getting benefits and things filled by their plan and finding out it's not covered anymore, the benefits reduced, they could be like, you know what, you could reach out to Chris, and he can help you look for a plan that maybe has better benefits for you. So they can be your voice to promote the open enrollment period, and they can provide that call to action to reach out to you for assistance. So look for those referral opportunities. This is becoming more important than ever. Think about instituting a 30, 60, 90 post-sale campaign. The idea behind this is a couple different things. Number one, it's going to make your client sticky to you. Anytime you make a change to their coverage, or if they're brand new to you, having a good 30, 60, 90-day campaign is going to separate you from the rest of the world. There's reasons that some of the top insurance companies in the world, this is one of the first things you learn when you become an agent for them, is the importance of a 30, 60, and 90-day post-sale campaign, because each of those individual touch points gives you an opportunity to strengthen that relationship that you have with your clients, but it also gives you an opportunity to expand your business and diversify your revenue. So as a Medicare agent should be working with hospital indemnity plans, cancer and critical illness policies, especially first occurrence or first diagnosis cancer plans, dental plans, because it's becoming apparent that you think the benefits of Medicare Advantage plans are crazy. Well, the dental benefits of Medicare Advantage seems like a roller coaster over the past couple of years. So having a good, stable dental plan could save a lot of the headaches you have during the annual enrollment period. I would hate to have to move someone in the craziness of AEP because their dental benefits on their MA plan is no longer acceptable. Get them a dental plan. You don't have to worry about it anymore. Life, and then of course annuities. But it's an opportunity for you to drive some real revenue growth. So if you have just like, let's say you met with 100 Medicare Advantage clients this annual enrollment period. If after following up with them, you sold 20% of those people a hospital indemnity plan, so your renewal is going to be about 31 grand based on the 2025 numbers. If you sold 20 hospital indemnity plans, that's an extra $8,000 in revenue. So you can actually grow your revenue. This situation, the math worked out to 26% growth in revenue from just 20% of your clients. So it's a huge opportunity for you to get that revenue going from your book of business, making your book of business more valuable to you. But you're also going to isolate yourself from some of these crazy things that are happening in the industry. You're going to have your clients covered with a hospital indemnity plan. So they have financial assistance for the Medicare benefits, even if they're Medicare Advantage benefits, if they continue to deteriorate year over year. It's true risk management. You're making sure that you're getting all your bases covered, and you're diversifying where your income's coming from. And you can do that with all these different things. So as part of the 30, 60, 90-day approach, you have an opportunity to talk about, are you concerned about cancer? Did you know that you have a 20% co-insurance for chemo? Hey, your dental benefits, I know they were due, they were $800 last year, they're $400 this year. When did we just get you a $2,000 plan? Talk about life insurance. Talk about annuities. Annuities are huge these days. Tons of annuity premium being had, and JSA has actually hired one of the best experts in the industry to work with our agents on growing their annuity sales. And there's going to be a lot more information coming out about that. There's just a huge opportunity to diversify right now so that you can continue to manage your Medicare book of business during the craziness that is AEP year over year, but you can continue to grow the revenue you're getting from that book of business. And there's some awesome opportunities around that we'll talk about in a little bit. Then we can also go back to the untouchables. So what are the untouchables? Those are the clients you didn't reach out to during the AEP. And my quote is leave no stone unturned. I'm probably the one who said that years ago. But this is an opportunity to get out, actively reach out to those clients that didn't respond to your calls, didn't respond to your emails, your texts, your letters, what have you. As we get into the open enrollment period. So this is something to do early January. Just to touch base and say, hey, didn't get a chance to talk to you during the annual enrollment period. There's been a lot of changes. Want to make sure that you're on a plan that makes sense for you, and then actually do that annual review, even if it's in the month of January. And if they need to make a change, especially for those that get impacted by the formulary changes, which seem to be the biggest problem this year, you at least have the open enrollment period to make that change. So go after the untouchables. That'll be a huge opportunity. There was just too many people to talk to in such a short amount of time that you're going to have a handful of these people in your book of business that you haven't talked to. Do your darndest to reach out to them and get in touch with them and see what kind of opportunities come from there. Now let's talk about service area reduction. So what was the quote? It was like 11,000 some odd plans are being canceled in various different counties across the country. So the service area reductions, there's an SEP that's specific to those individuals. So it's called SEP contract term / non-renewal. This SEP didn't start until last week on the 8th, and it runs all the way through the end of February. It can't be utilized if they made a change during AEP though. So if you, as part of your retention efforts, did your due diligence and move those folks already, they don't have this SEP anymore. But the people that did move, they could utilize this special enrollment period all the way through the end of February. And if you're curious about where these contracts are being termed to the carriers or plans, reach out to us. We have the whole national list we could send to you. So it's got all the Medicare Advantage, all the Part D plans. Just give us a call. We've got it. And we can get that info to you. These individuals also have a guarantee issue into a Medicare supplement plan. So they're terminated from their Medicare Advantage plan. Their guarantee issue into a Medicare supplement plan. You can do applications now because most carriers allow you to do guarantee issue apps at least 60 days in advance. So you can do it now all the way through the end of February to get a guarantee issue into a Medicare supplement plan. For some of your clients, that might be an opportunity for that. The question was that they had a prescription drug plan that was being terminated. Can they use this to enroll to a Medicare Advantage plan? Yes. Yes, it's MAPD or standalone PDP. Either one would work with the SEP for contract term / non-renewal. So, and if you have someone who was on an MAPD plan, they wanted to go to a MedSup guarantee issue, you would still use the SEP contract term to get them into a standalone prescription drug plan. So it works both ways. Good question. Here's one of the big changes is for anyone who's familiar with the disaster or emergency SEP that seems to happen randomly across the country kind of all the time. CMS released a memo dated December 8th or December 9th, one of those days. I'm sorry. There's lots of dates flying around lately. That's completely changing. So what this SEP is it exists for anybody who resides or resided at the start of an incident period in any area that FEMA has designated an emergency or a disaster area. They had another election period during the time of that incident, but they didn't make a change. Those individuals has an SEP that they could use until up to 2 months after the disaster period ends. So we have like the hurricanes, Hurricane Milton, Hurricane Helene, Tropical Storm Helene. That was the one that went all the way up through Georgia into the Carolinas and Tennessee. Anybody who's in those disaster areas would have this special election period if they didn't make a change during the annual enrollment period or even the open enrollment period. So we have like California, the wildfires you guys deal with out there in California, some of them up in Oregon and Washington as well, Montana. This SEP used to be an opportunity for us to help individuals that were impacted by these disasters. You know, hey, there's a hurricane. I couldn't even live in my house for months. I had to vacate. I was gone. I wasn't getting your mail. I'd like to make a change. What can we do? So that's what this SEP is designed to do. Unfortunately, and there's been some abuse. Like people are out there just writing, using that SEP, and there was no checking for it whatsoever. So CMS came out with a memo that as of April 1st, 2025, beneficiaries that would qualify for this SEP, so they meet the criteria in those bullet points you see. The only way they could utilize that is by calling 1-800-Medicare directly. They can't call a carrier. They can't call you. We as carriers, or not as carriers, we as agents, we can't use this SEP anymore starting April 1st of 2025. So time is running out. to utilize that SEP to grow your business throughout the year. So if you have anybody who's been impacted, who resides in those service areas, they didn't reach out to you or have an opportunity to make a change during AEP, you could utilize that SEP all the way up to the end of March. So keep that in mind. Oh, if you want to, so in order to find these areas, because it's hard to find an all-encompassing list, even the ones carriers send out aren't complete. If you go to FEMA.gov/disaster, and I'll put it in the chat, FEMA.gov/disaster. You can click on the search disasters, and you can search for disasters by state, by county, to see if any of those areas are around you. So yeah, that's completely changing as of April 1st next year. We won't be able to utilize that SEP. If there's any updates to that, we'll let everybody know. But as of the memo, and we've already started getting emails from the carriers, this is going to be the case for next year. Another big change that you heard a little bit about, we talked a little bit about it last year, you're going to hear a lot about it over the next coming months, is the dual/LIS special enrollment period for individuals that are on both Medicare, Medicaid, or qualify for extra help with prescription drugs. There's a big change coming to that. So for agents who have been doing this for a while, we used to have a kind of a continuous enrollment period for those low-income individuals. And then it got changed to a quarterly SEP where you could use once each quarter during the first 3 quarters of the year. Well, that quarterly SEP is gone as of 2025, and we have a new monthly SEP that's coming back, but, and that's a big but, it's only for dual eligibles to give them the ability to join an integrated dual special needs plan. So an integrated dual special needs plan is, it's a dual special needs plan, so it's for Medicare and Medicaid folks, but it means that the client has both their state Medicaid benefits and their DSMP plan through the same carrier underneath the same parent company. So if you, like, for instance, if you run into somebody who's on Medicare, Medicaid, and it's March of next year and they want to join to a different plan, you would have to make sure that they're, like if you wanted to sell a UHC plan, they would have to have their Medicaid contractor be United Healthcare in order to sell them that United Healthcare dual special needs plan. So we're going to see some changes on this, and carriers are just starting to release some information and guidance to us, but we've got our dual team here at JSA is super smart. They're able to crack into some of this stuff and give us some information. Now, what's going to happen with LIS is LIS individuals are going to be the most impacted by this, because these individuals can only change their prescription drug benefits. So right now, if you have an LIS, you can join an MAPD or a PDP using that quarterly SEP. That's gone. So they're only going to be able to make changes to their benefits during AEP, OEP, or any other special enrollment periods, like losing LIS, gaining LIS. So they're going to be the most impacted by this. But once again, anytime there's a change, there's an opportunity. So this is going to vary by state, county, and carrier. So states are going to have their own rules. What's available in each county is going to vary. And then carriers are going to have their own variable of this on whether or not they're even Medicaid providers in the state. And what's going to happen, because it always happens, is some agents, because it's going to start getting a little bit complicated, some agents are just going to vacate working with the Medicare and Medicaid folks. So that's going to leave a lot of opportunity for us. Now, what you can focus on is if you can help somebody facilitate signing up for extra help or low income subsidy, which is really the first step in seeing if they qualify for the state Medicaid program. Then not only do you get the halo around your head for helping them get this financial assistance, but then you could utilize a special election period to get them onto a D-SNP plan, whether it's integrated or not, because of their change in status. So you can actually help people sign up for these benefits and then utilize the special election period for change in status any time of the year. But don't be scared. So our dual team is working on a state-by-state resources right now to give you guys the best guidance. We're going to put together comprehensive information as far as here's your state, here's your D-SNP carriers, here's where they have plans available. If you need to help somebody change their Medicaid provider to get them onto an integrated plan to use that monthly SEP, here's the phone numbers and the process to do it. So we're going to create all these resources for you guys, and we're going to go ahead and send them out. We have a lot of questions in here. Well, how do we know about if the plan's integrated, so on and so forth? We're working on those resources right now. So we'll be able to tell you, hey, you're in this state, you're in this county. Yes, they've got an integrated plan. You could move, you could change Medicaid providers, or some states. What we're finding is some states you have to change someone's Medicaid provider by calling their caseworker at the state. And then once they change that, then we can do the enrollment for the dual special needs plan. Some states, you just have to submit the enrollment for the dual special needs plans, and they'll automatically change the Medicaid provider on the back end. We could do a whole training on this, and we will be doing a whole training on this, but there's a lot more information to come when it comes to how do we best work in the dual special needs, the DS&P market. And we've got a ton of resources that we're going to be generating for you guys to give you guys the best information so you can go out there and help as most people as possible. So ton of opportunity during open enrollment period, during the special enrollment period. Even with some of these changes, it's going to create a huge opportunity. One of the things that we wanted to focus on, because it's becoming relatively apparent, and this is what I'll close out with you guys today before we get to the top of the hour, is a lot of the wins that we saw this year were by agents and agencies that were letting, I'm trying to figure out the best way to explain this. I've been telling people about this for a while, and I just can't seem to eloquently do it. Let me see if I can do this. Where we saw the biggest opportunities to handle retention, but also take advantage of these opportunities for growth, were from individuals that had their data in the right spot. Yeah, there we go. That works. That had their data in the right spot, because when we look at the Medicare market with all of these changes, things happening in the middle of the annual enrollment period, you really got to think to yourself, is my client data working for me? Like, do I have my client data in a place that makes sense? Am I able to, at a moment's notice, reach out to individuals that are impacted by these big changes to their benefits, whether it be a plan leaving or a popular drug no longer being covered on a formulary? Like, are you able to pivot? And more importantly, how do you get yourself in a position to pivot quickly, to be able to react to these big changes that happen this AEP? We all saw it, that are going to continue to happen for AEPs to come. Well, there's a couple things that you could do now, starting now, even today, if you want to, as soon as you leave this phone call, starting today, and some opportunities in the future to put yourself in the best position to handle retention and growth every single AEP. And it all revolves around your data. So is your data working for you? We have tools that were very beneficial and very valuable to our agent and agency partners that help them handle this year's AEP to the best of their abilities and are going to set them up for growth for years to come. And that really starts with a multi-carrier enrollment tool. It is baffling to me that we still have, I wouldn't say a good majority, we have a lot of business that's written during the AEP and OEP that's not written through a multi-carrier tool. It's written direct with the carrier's enrollment system or whatever that they provide. The idea behind a multi-carrier enrollment tool is to be able to handle situations like this AEP 100% better than just using individual carrier tools. It really does save you and your clients time. And through JSA, we have access to both My Health Plan, which is our Connecture platform, and Sunfire. And we make it available to you guys for no cost whatsoever, because we understand that this is one of the best ways to manage and handle your enrollments and your quoting every single AEP to save yourself some time. And it's no surprise to us that this year we saw a 65% year-over-year increase in our AEP enrollments on our Connecture platform on My Health Plan, and comparably a 61% year-over-year increase on folks that were using Sunfire to do their quoting and their enrollments. This should be the cornerstone of what you work towards every single year, is making sure that when you're quoting and enrolling clients, you're using a multi-carrier enrollment tool. And not just because it saves you time and it's a slick system and it records your phone calls and it keeps you compliant and all that other cool stuff that goes along with it, but it's one central place to house your clients' enrollment data. And I'll tell you why that's important in another thing. Another cool thing that came this year that really saved the day, especially from a retention standpoint, is Retire Flow. We talked a ton about Retire Flow this past year leading up to the annual enrollment period. We saw the value in this tool so much that we worked with our buddies at Retire Flow, Dalton, the president, the founder, to make sure that our agents had access to the biggest discount in the entire industry. So if you use Retire Flow or you want to add a Retire Flow, which I'm going to encourage every single person on the line to, you use our discount code, which is JSA, you're going to get 50% off. You can't get that anywhere else. So you're going to be able to get a 50% off just by being a partner of ours, but it is the easiest way to collect drugs, doctors, hospitals, pharmacy information from your clients. And instead of you talking to your client over the phone or sitting across the kitchen table from them as they go collect their prescription pill bottles for 15 minutes, it's going to save you 15 to 30 minutes per personal appointment, not only for new clients, but for your current clients, especially when you're doing year-over-year retention stuff during the early parts of the AEP. It integrates directly with my health plan. So when they fill out that survey, and there's going to be some enhancements to that functionality too, it's only going to get better. And once again, you still get 50% discount by working with us. It integrates directly with my health plan. So when your clients go in and they put in their drugs and their dosage and their doctors and things like that, it's automatically going to update their profile on my health plan. So all you have to do come October, you do this in September, and a lot of our agents did. You do this in September, come October, you could start October 1st just by quoting people, not reaching out to them to get their drug lists or trying to, have them spell levothyroxine over the phone and trying to get it onto the system. It's already in there for you, waiting, it's ready to go. This year was insane when it came to this. So our agents sent 87,294 surveys through Retire Flow, and 47,639 of those surveys were completed for the agent. So that's either a client gained or a client retained during the annual enrollment period. Huge opportunity to get those numbers through the roof. I think that should have been knowing that 70% of all Medicare beneficiaries should have been quoted this year or should have shopped this year. I think those numbers can go through the roof, and I know you guys will continue to get those numbers through the roof. We have a huge opportunity to take this program to the max. I don't know if you guys got an email from Dalton yesterday, but they're releasing something at the beginning of January. It says it's going to revolutionize the market. So they're always working on new, innovative, creative ways to make the system better. It's going to it integrates directly with our most popular enrollment platform, My Health Plan. It's a win. So Jody, thanks for dropping in the chat. Yes to Retire Flow. Retire Flow was a lifesaver this AEP, and will continue to be a lifesaver for your AEPs. It's also, we're finding out, a great new client intake process too. So make sure you jump on Retire Flow and get that done. Another thing I'm pleased to announce is we've been silently working with our partner at Connecture on a pilot program. I want to let you guys know about it here. It's exclusive to between JSA and Connecture. We're the only FMO that's working with it. But what the SageSend program did is it took a look at all of the enrollments that were submitted through My Health Plan, not the quotes, the actual enrollments. So they know that people were enrolled into these plans. It analyzed those enrollments. It looked at what they had on their medicine cabinet, all the information that they do when you're filling out an application there. And it looked at their 2024 plan and then how they were going to be impacted with all these changes for 2025. And it generated this crazy AI-driven analytics for us, where we were able to target people that were going to be drastically impacted by premium, drastically impacted by plan exits, drastically impacted by formulary and drugs. And what that did is for our agents who have been using My Health Plan throughout the year, thank you guys for being, early adopters of this. We were able to analyze that book of business year over year. And then we were able to tell them on October 2nd when we got the report back, because it took a day, a lot of data that it went through. But we were able to tell them, hey, out of the 150 enrollments you did through My Health Plan, these 75 people are going to be impacted by huge premium increases, plans that are dropping, or drugs that are no longer covered. And we were able to help those agents kind of efficiently work through their retention efforts at the beginning of the annual enrollment period, because they know 100%, hey, I have to reach out to these people. They're going to go through some drastic changes. And it's this program, we're going to continue this program. We're working with Connecture to expand the capabilities of what SageSend can do when it comes to protecting your book of business year over year, but also allowing you to do some communications from the system. So we have it's a great opportunity for you guys. So if you're not using My Health Plan, please start using My Health Plan. It's a great tool. There's having the data there. There's so many cool things that we can do to help you from a retention standpoint. Because really, when it comes down to looking at you as an agent working in the Medicare space, working with multiple carriers, multiple solutions, we have all these crazy things that happen each year over year with the plan benefits, who's in, who's out, who's paying, who's not. Your data truly is powerful. The data that you have on your clients is one of the biggest assets and one of the most powerful things that you have to not only make sure your clients have a wonderful experience with you, but in order to grow your business to where you want it to be. So where do you got to think to yourself, where do you keep your data? Do you keep it on a spreadsheet? Do you have it stashed in the filing cabinet? Do you've got just maybe like the contacts app on your phone, or do you have a Rolodex going on? Are you housing it in just your quoting and enrollment tools and hoping that it's going to be there? Is it kind of all over the place? And I think a lot of you will answer, yeah, my data kind of is all over the place. Well, what data are you keeping? If it's all over the place, what kind of data do you have? Do you know what data do you have? I mean, I'm sure you at least have their contact information, but are you keeping track of the active policies? Do you know what their drug lists are that you could just easily look up and not have to call them and have them spell these crazy drug names over the phone because they're only getting worse? Do you know their doctors and their hospitals? Do you know what they have for income and assets? Do you know who their family is? You know, what kind of data do you have? Finally, what is that data doing to help you generate more revenue? Because you have all this data, it's all over the place, it's in all these different formats. Is it really doing anything to help your business? What if your data did more than just exist? What if it worked seamlessly between your marketing, your sales, and your enrollment tools? What if it automatically kept you top of mind throughout the year with every single client in your book of business? What if it protected that book of business from all these crazy market disruptions we just spent the last 50 plus minutes talking about? What if it automatically created new sales opportunities for you? So guys, when it comes to our post AEP action plan, there's plenty of opportunity out there, but I think one of the greatest opportunities that you have is to truly make your data work just as hard for you as you worked in obtaining it in the first place. And I'm pleased to announce nationally, globally, for the first time, that JSA will be offering an agent CRM coming in 2025. We've been working on this project for over 2 years with one of the companies, one of the CRM providers out there we think is top notch and is going to make anything else that's available on the market today look like they're not even trying anymore. And it's kind of a top secret thing. We've been keeping it secret for a while. There's not a lot of people that know about it, but we're officially telling everybody we are going to have a CRM option available for our agent and agency partners starting in 2025. That is going to solve all of these data problems for you to make you more efficient, make you smarter, and it's ultimately going to generate income for you without you even knowing about it. So we don't have a name for it yet. We're still trying to figure out a name. So we're just calling it Agent CRM, but it is going to be the central hub for all your client data across all the lines. So not just the business that you work with us here at JSA on. This can work for all of your clients across all the different lines that you work with. It's going to seamlessly integrate with My Health Plan, Sunfire, Retire Flow, JSA's Pro Shop Plus, which is our marketing platform for all the different materials and social media stuff, and many more things that we're going to have automatic integrations for. We're loading the system with automations that will literally take all of the things you do from a retention and even a new business kind of a pipeline standpoint, and it's going to automate those stuff for you. So you're going to be able to put your client, the hardest part about using the CRM is going to be getting your client information in there. And there's even easy ways to do that. But even if it was difficult, that's going to be the most difficult step, because as soon as you have your client information in the CRM system, all these automations are going to be built in. You can turn them on and turn them off. But the whole idea behind it is to keep you top of mind with your clients, have one single place for all of your client data to live, and not just have the data live there, but actually work for you. That's where so many of these CRMs out there just miss the ball is, yeah, it's a place to dump your data, but it doesn't integrate with this. It doesn't integrate with this. It doesn't do anything. It just exists. And that's a problem. So you're going to be able to identify sales opportunities. You're going to be able to put a plan in action. We talked about the 30, 60, 90-day retention. That's going to be built into the platform. If you want to turn that on, you're good to go, because it's going to have full marketing and communication capabilities. They're going to have some call recording integration as well. So if you guys have phone services like RingCentral, many others, you can actually integrate it directly in with your CRM. We're not going to tell you which one to use, but it's going to offer the call recording, keep track of the calls on the client's profile. It is 100% secure. It's SOC 2 compliant, which means that you own your data 100%. We don't have access to it. The company that we're working with doesn't even have access to your own data. So you own your data 100%. And then we're going to be continuously working on enhancing the system as we go through the years. We're going to work on enhancing it from a capability, from adding some AI capabilities into the platform to make working with the system easier. We're looking at other business management plugins that we can get you guys hooked up with. So it's a huge opportunity. We're super excited about it. This is the first time I got to tell anybody about it. So we're really excited for it. So we're going to have a lot more information coming out to you guys over the next couple of months. The first thing that you can do if you guys are excited for the CRM, even if you have your own CRM, I implore you to take a look at what we're creating and what we're building based on the tens of thousands of agents we work with across the country, the interactions, the relationships we have with you guys, all of the best practices and things that we learn. We're putting all that time, talent, and effort into the CRM to make it something that's truly going to be remarkable and kind of revolutionary in the industry itself. So please, we are sending out a broker survey on Monday, so that's the 16th. We want your feedback. We want you to take a few minutes. I think it's 13 questions long. We want you to take a few minutes to complete our survey. Share your thoughts on the services and the tools that we provide. If you're interested in Codename Agent CRM, there's going to be an opportunity for you to click yes, I'm interested. And then I think we asked for the only piece of information we need from you is your NPN number, your national producer number. So if you're interested in the CRM, we're going to start building that wait list to give people up-to-date information on when it's going to be released, what the pricing looks like, because there's going to be a price to it, obviously. I'm telling you, with all the things that it does, it's gonna be insane. Kind of like we're doing for our webinar today. We're going to pick 3 lucky agents who complete the survey. You're going to get a $75 Amazon gift card just for letting us know what's going on. But please, please, please don't miss this opportunity to make your voice heard. We want to hear from you guys. We want your feedback. We have a lot of questions about the service and support that we provide here at JSA. What do you find valuable? What are you interested in growing for your agency? And we're very excited about all this stuff. So I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. A little bit of a recap for our post AEP action plan, and then you guys can go and I'll answer some questions if there are any. But let's start off 2025 strong. So this AEP was nuts, and it's going to continue to be nuts for years to come. So the idea right now is you want to take the steps to put yourself in the best position possible to handle the chaos from year over year. So get your data in one spot, utilize the multi-carrier quoting platform, jump on board with Retire Flow, because talk to anybody who uses it, it's a godsend. And then jump on board with our CRM when it releases during the first part of 2025. We're very excited for that. Make that data work for you. You have all that client data, wherever it exists, get it in one spot and actually and make it valuable to you. And reacting to these changes, because a lot of these AEP changes happen during AEP. And if you don't have your information where it needs to be, it's going to be very hard to manage that. So having all the data in one spot that integrates with all the tools and everything that you guys work with, it's going to be a huge power boost to everybody out there. So I'm super excited to what it could do for all of you guys. We got that CRM coming. Please, please, please keep an eye out for your inboxes on Monday. We're going to be sending out a broker survey to all of our agents across the country. Take the time to complete that survey. Let us know if you want to know more about the CRM. We'll add you to the list of interested folks. And as soon as we have more information to share there, we will definitely share it. So thanks again. Everything we do revolves around your success, guys. Our tagline is sharing success together. And that's at least my focus every single day when I come into the office, is what we could do to help service you guys, keep you educated, keep you informed, keep you at the top of the market, give you these awesome opportunities to really blow your business through the roof, all the way to the moon, to places you never wanted to see or you never thought it would go before. So we're working hot and heavy on that CRM, and it's going to be a game changer, guys. So we're very excited. But if you need any help, you have any questions, you want to get that list of all the plan exits and stuff like that, just give us a call. There's our toll-free number, or you can email info@jsaonline.com. I will be pulling the attendee report after we end today. We are going to be picking 3 lucky folks at random who attended our presentation to win that $500 co-op money, and we'll be reaching out to you guys as well. And once again, a copy of this recording will be available on we're going to have it in that email, and we're also going to be loading it on the YouTube channel. So thanks for spending some time with me. Thank you again for an absolutely awesome, insane, crazy annual enrollment period. We look forward to doing these crazy things with you guys every single year, and we're going to make sure that everybody is going to be in the best place possible. So with that, Thanks again for the bottom of my heart from all of us here at JSA. You guys are awesome. We appreciate you. Thanks for hanging out with me for a little over an hour. And hope you guys have a wonderful holiday season. Have a wonderful new year. And I'm sure we'll talk again come 2025. So take care. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.